I'm very glad to stay here on stage and have the opportunity to give you a short overview about our smartPORT energy concept. So my statement today is an overview, and you have heard quite something about it from Jens, Monica, and Henning, and now I want to give you the facts and figures. Again, the Port of Hamburg, at the heart of the city, is surrounded by residential areas. In order to remain economically successful, we had to consider how to become ecologically successful as well. Together with the Ministry for the Environment and the Ministry for Economics, Transport and Innovation, we developed the concept smartPORT energy, our idea of an intelligent and finally also sustainable port. With smartPORT energy, we want to demonstrate how the energy transition, that is the change from conventionally generated energy to renewable energy sources, can be managed, and how energy consumption and emissions can be reduced in a port or also in an industrial area. In the last 2.5 years, we have developed these 3 columns and have considered and realized many different projects in these 9 action fields. Today, I would like to take you on a trip through the Port of Hamburg to show you what we have achieved and also to share our experiences with you. Imagine you are on board of a cruise liner calling at the Port of Hamburg. On your left, you see the city with its residential buildings, and on your right, the port, the industrial area, and you realize the close proximity of all these parts. Now, you understand why we developed the smartPORT energy concept. On your right, at the entrance to the port, you see the huge Airbus plant. In the last 2 years, several projects for energy generation and efficiency were realized here. For example, 2 combined heat and power plants, so-called CHP plants, which do not only produce energy, but every year save 60,000 tons of CO2. You continue, and on your right, you see the container terminals of Waltershofer Hafen, which has the Vessel Traffic Service Center directly at its entrance. It's one of the most modern VTS centers worldwide and was refurbished in the last years. Operations started again in June of last year. The energy is supplied on the basis of the ice storage technology there, an innovation that keeps rooms cool in summer and warm in winter by means of storing coldness and warmth in a huge water tank. The facility is refinanced in only 6 years. Moreover, emissions are reduced by 55 tons CO2 per year. Behind the VTS center, you recognize several windmills. One of these facilities is new. It was built in 2013 on the Birke terminal and produces 9 million kilowatt hours per year, between 25 and 50% of which is for the company's own use. Apart from operational costs, this saves almost 4,600 tons of CO2. In addition, Eurogate also built a CHP plant, saving another 3,000 tons of CO2. Now you are passing Köhlbrand, which is spanned by the famous Köhlbrand Bridge. In German, it's Köhlbrandbrücke. This is for Max again. Behind it, you see the container cranes of the terminal Altenwerder. Meanwhile, 8 electrically operated HGVs, so-called automated guided vehicles, are deployed there, tendency increasing. You turn left, and directly ahead, there is the cruise terminal Altona. Here, HPA is constructing the first onshore power facility for cruise vessels in Europe. It will be finalized this summer and will provide up to 12 megawatt ampere. This pilot project is co-financed with up to 7.2 million euros by the European Union and the Federal Ministry for the Environment. The facility is nearly completed, with very successful first tests in the beginning of May. Opposite the terminal, on the other side of the Elbe, you see the container terminal Tollerort and a wastewater treatment plant. There, on the area of the plant, a second windmill was built last year. On the container terminal Tollerort, as Henning mentioned, solar panels were installed and e-cars are deployed to transport stuff on the terminal area. A bit upstream and right in the middle of the city, you see on your right 2 musical theaters and in their neighborhood an industrial plant, location of Sasol Wax. Here a CHP plant was built, plus a gas turbine and a heat recovery boiler, resulting in savings of 19,000 tons of CO2, 2 million euros of operational costs, and 63,000 kilowatt hours. I think an impressive achievement. Our little voyage ends at the cruise terminal Hafen City, where the vessel will moor and then be supplied by an LNG hybrid barge, or should I say, the LNG hybrid barge. Then, the LNG hybrid barge is unique in the world, and the first supply was on Saturday last week. On this week, there's the possibility for you, the chance for you to visit the barge. The HBA built its berth and the landside infrastructure. The project is also co-financed by the Federal Ministry for the Environment. This short overview will show you which measures we have chosen to reach our goals here in Hamburg. We haven't come to the end yet, but have already achieved quite something. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me summarize the main points for you. Almost all large roofs in the Port of Hamburg, which are possible, have been fitted with photovoltaic systems. We plan to build 7 windmills, of which we already managed to build 2, while 5 are in the permission phase. In the beginning, we thought it's easier to find places for windmills in our port area, but it isn't. It wasn't easy to find suitable plots for these facilities in the limited industrial and port area. Moreover, various frameworks conditions had to be considered. For example, the distance to hazardous goods and our radar system. In the last 2 years, a total of 59 measures to increase energy efficiency have been implemented in the port. This was greatly aided by the funding programs of the Free and Hanseatic City of Hamburg. An average of 10% funding affected company investment totaling 30 million euros and yearly savings of more than 140,000 kilowatt hours and a reduction of nearly 60,000 tons of CO2 emissions. Also regarding electromobility, the results are impressive. Supported by federal and local funding, there are almost 1,500 e-cars on the streets of the metropolitan region of Hamburg. By the end of 2016, there will be almost 600 public charging stations for e-cars in Hamburg. So far, there are 655 e-cars used by Hamburg companies and 92 in the port, with HHLA being the biggest user of e-cars in the port with 65. Our experiences with this program are extremely positive. It is important to convince companies on your ideas and projects and to win technology enterprises as your partners. Furthermore, funding programs, be they financed by governments or international organizations, like in our case the European Union, are important for startup funding for such pilot projects. Venture capital is required to develop and test new technologies. In Hamburg, it was essential for our concept that the city of Hamburg provided funding programs and at least money for topics identified by us, and port companies could target their investments accordingly. A final word perhaps, installing photovoltaic systems on large industrial halls is presently, at least in Germany, difficult, since the conditions for funding have become more difficult. We therefore think of storage technologies as one of the next focal points of our program and plan to construct our next pilot facilities in this field. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention, and I would be delighted to answer any questions or to enter into a discussion with you. Thank you.